Brenda Williams likes to call her Web Mag.
Mage.
Mage. I'm trying to get that. What is mage?
Wise person.
Okay. Web Mag. Please welcome Peggy B. While today's speech number 4 made them laugh, from the advanced manual, humorously speaking, she shares the best, worst day. Peggy.
Thank you, Master Toastmaster, and fellow Toastmasters and welcomed and honored guests. You might be wondering what the best, worst day is all about. Perhaps you've even had some best, worst days and just didn't maybe realize it. Let me give you an example of a best, worst day. On the way to a Toastmasters meeting, you have a carpool full of Toastmasters heading to a meeting up near Reedsburg, Wisconsin. On the way, you, as the driver, are about 20 miles outside of Madison, and you have a flat tire. Some of you may remember this incident because you were in that. We had to pile out, but as Toastmasters, we take the situation in hand. We get out from the glove box the manual to learn how to change the tire, finding where all the equipment is, where the tire is. We start looking underneath because we're not exactly sure where the spare tire is at. And lo and behold, a guardian angel, Good Samaritan, came through and stopped. This was really helpful because it was kind of misty, rainy, and it was like a January, February, March type of typical winter day where stuff was starting to come down off the sky. So it wasn't a beautiful, sunny, cold winter day in Wisconsin. So we were really grateful that this gentleman had pulled over on the busy side of 9094 to help us get back on our way. And get back on our way we did. That was one instance of the best, worst day. Worst things could have happened, but the best thing possible made it not so bad. Another instance for me personally was a few years ago. Actually, it's coming up 7 years ago on January 23rd. I learned whether or not I was going to be moving ahead with the new Delta Airlines that was merging with the existing Northwest Airlines. It had been first thought that Northwest was going to be the one company that was coming up on top, but we quickly learned that it was Delta Airlines that was going to be the new company. So that meant a lot of the employees for Northwest were not going to be moving ahead with the new company. Best, worst day? Perhaps. It could have been a lot worse. What I had done set that pace 3 years earlier when I was 49 years old, back in 2006. I saw everything that had happened since September 11th, 2001, the day that we actually watched from the little television set in one of the training reps' cubes of the second plane going into the tower, the Twin Towers of Manhattan. It still chokes me up to this day thinking about what had happened and what happened the next few days. It's amazing when you live and work around an airport and for 5 days you don't hear any noise coming from the sky except for the birds. There's no planes, there's no contrails that are going through the sky. It is the eeriest feeling. I look hard to find the best, worst day in that particular situation, but we were glad that we didn't have to worry about any of our airline employees. They were all safe. All of Delta's were safe at that time. Of course, there was other airlines with the United and American that weren't quite so lucky. But we celebrated their bravery, their courage, and that made it the best, worst day. We honored them to this day yet. For myself, I knew at that time that situations are only temporary. This life is only temporary, and what we make do of it is important. A few years into that, as I said, when I was 49 years old, I decided that I was going to take my own life in my own hands. I sat down, wrote down a list of items that I wanted to accomplish by the time that I was 55 years old. I was not going to wait for any other's decision that will affect my life today. So I wrote down that I didn't want to commute into work. I wanted to have a successful business of my own where I could replace the income that I was currently making, and that I could have the luxury of having the time, the financial resources to do what I want, when I wanted, where I wanted, and with whom I wanted. But the best part of that was I really wanted to make my husband the kept man that he deserved to be. Little did I know that 3 years later, after writing out that list, it started jumping off the list. Because of January 23rd, 2009, I was called into our new manager's office for the decision if I was going to be staying on or moving on. It could have been the worst day. The manager sat me down in the chair and she said, well, you know, I've tried everything in my power to keep you because you're a good worker, you're efficient, you're fun, your attitude is bar none to anybody in this department, but we just can't keep you on. I'm really sorry. She then leaned into me and she said, are you going to be okay? I said, I'm going to be more than okay. Of course I'm going to be okay. Thank you very much. And I walked out the door. I came downstairs and everybody's like, what happened, what happened? And I said, I get to leave, I get to leave. And they're like, what do you mean you get, why are you so happy? And I said, because I no longer have to wait for that pendulum to go across my chest and cut open my heart once again. I know what I can do and be done with it. The best, worst day of my life was when I was given my freedom from the airline to do what I want. I'm still working on my husband being the kept man, but we're getting really close. Congratulations.
Now we'd like to take a 1-minute recess for comments, 1 or 2 minutes for our comments for Peggy's speech.